Hello, welcome to the 75th Ranger Regiment. I am Colonel D.S. Brewer. Today, we'll be going over the basic rangering tasks that you need to be successful within the 75th Ranger Regiment. Most of the people watching this video are probably here for Ranger Assessment Selection Program and need to watch this video to understand. The reason we are doing this now, because usually this takes about an hour of in-classroom time to teach. We're trying to shrink this down to a 20-minute YouTube video that you can watch and replay if you don't understand anything, to understand how the regiment works. First thing we're going to go over is the chain of command and why the chain of command is important. Here we have an entire platoon. As you can see at the front, we have the person in charge of the platoon leader, and then we have everyone in the platoon. It's about 37 people, anywhere between 37, 35 people, up to 50 people. And as you can see, they're all grouped up. 35 to 50 people all screaming, yelling at one person does not work effectively. There is a chain of command. It works up and it works down. It works both ways in both directions. So we're going to go ahead and go over that now. Here we have your basic fire team. Anywhere between 4 to 8 people, depending on the fire team you're in. As a brand new private within the 75th Ranger Regiment, you will be in a fire team like this. The first person you report to is your fire team leader. Your fire team leader is your first point of contact on the line. This here is your fire team leader. Any problems you have, anything you need to discuss with him, whether it's real life, in-game, your availability, whatever you can get on, anything like that, you talk to your fire team leader about first. This is usually someone who's been in the regiment anywhere between a couple weeks to a couple months. They might be a specialist, they might be a corporal, they might be a sergeant. They've been here for a while, they know how the game works, and they can help you with whatever problems you have. Next is going to be your squad leader, your second point of contact on the line. Your squad leader is in charge of 2 fire team leaders and 2 fire teams, anywhere between 8 to 16 personnel, depending on size. They're in charge of these 2 fire team leaders. They're your second point of contact on the line. They've been here probably for a couple months. They know things. They're either a corporal, staff sergeant, anything like that. So they are your second point of contact on the line of solving things. Next is going to be your platoon leader and your platoon sergeant. As you can see here, we're getting a little bit bigger. This is your platoon leader, this is your platoon sergeant. They have 4 squad leaders that talk to and report to them, 8 team leaders, and anywhere between 35 to 50 personnel. This is how the chain of command works. Any problems that there are on the line comes up to the team leaders. Team leaders tell the squad leaders tell the PLPSG. They can either fix it themselves or they send it up the chain of command. They're your third point of contact on the line. Next is your company command team. Company command team is these 3 personnel here. Your first sergeant, your executive officer, and your company commander. Company will be anywhere between 2 to 4 platoons with 2 to 4 platoon leaders, 2 to 4 platoon sergeants, anywhere between 16 to 20 squad leaders, 20 to 40 team leaders, so on and so forth, and 80 to 160 personnel, depending on the size of the company. So that's why the chain of command is important, because there's so many people and it needs to flow in both directions. Problems as they arise come up to the platoon leaders go to the company commander, they solve it at their level or whatever, and then they push orders down to y'all guys so you guys can handle things at your level. And then lastly, we'll be addressing the battalion command structure. This here is the battalion top 5, the top 5 people in charge of a battalion. You have your battalion operations sergeant major, your battalion operations officer, your battalion command sergeant major, your battalion executive officer, and your battalion commander. They are in charge of anywhere between 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes companies, anywhere between could be 200 on the low end to 400, 500, 600 people on the high end. This is your entire battalion chain of command. It works both ways. It works up and down. So please feel free to utilize it to the best of your ability. Next thing we'll go ahead and go over will be basic land navigation. First thing that we're going to go over is going to be the compass, how to use the in-game compass. It's super simple. In-game, most of the time, you will have access to 2 separate compasses. There's one at the bottom of my map. There's also one that I'm currently holding in my hand. What you can do is using whatever you need to use to aim, to look at things and basically give the readings. If I'm looking at this tower, I can see this tower is at 282 degrees on my compass, as well as also the one at the bottom. The red stuff, that is what you want to be reading on the compass. Let's say I want to look at that helicopter over there on the runway. That is 247 degrees. Super simple. That is how you use the compass. Next is going to be the map. We're going to zoom all the way out, and I'm going to teach y'all how to read a grid. A grid is how you basically can get anywhere on the map. So, first thing that you're going to do is get a 4-digit grid. A 4-digit grid is 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters and will get you within 1,000 meters of wherever you want to go. So it is always rise before run. So as you can see here, we're going to use the rise first. Here, the one at the top or the one at the bottom. I prefer the top. It's what's easiest for me. So rise before you run. you're going to use 0, 4. So it's always the bottom left-hand corner of whatever square you're in. So this blue thing here on the map represents us currently. So it's always going to be the bottom left-hand corner. Whatever the bottom left-hand corner of the two lines that intersect is, that is going to be what it's going to be. As I was saying. So, 0, 4, 1, 1. That is your correct 4-digit grid for our current position. It's 1,000 meters by 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters squared. Our 4-digit grid is 0, 4, 1, 1. If you can see how I got that, the rise is here, 0, 4, and the run is over here, 1, 1. That's the bottom left-hand corner of the grid we're in. So what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and zoom in to try to get our next grid. This is a 6-digit grid. A 6-digit grid is 100 meters by 100 meters. It gets you within 100 meters of an objective. So, zoom in a little bit more. As we can see, we're right here at the hangar. That's where it says we're at. So, this gets us within 100 meters of where we're trying to go to. Usually this is best used for helicopter landing zones or generally getting people to your location. So, 049117. Super simple. As you can see, the hangar is here. This is where we're at. The bottom left-hand corner, 049117. And that is how you can get someone basically to your general position. If you're in the top left-hand corner of this grid and someone's in the bottom right-hand corner, if you guys walk around for a little bit, you can usually find each other pretty easily. It's not too hard. Next thing we're going to go over is a 8-digit grid, which is super simple. So an 8-digit grid is within 10 meters of somebody. So, just to make things super simple, let's zoom out again. Remember how 0, 4, and 0, 5, once you started zooming in, it went from 0, 4, 0, 5 to 0, 4, 0, 0, 4, 1, 0, 4, 2, 0, 4, 3, so on and so forth. You need to imagine the same thing happening here. But the game doesn't do it. It doesn't add the lines in. But just imagine that this, instead of saying 049, says 0490. And then, boom, there's another, basically a 10-meter line from here. And then 0491, 0492, 0493, 0494, 0495, 0496, 0497, 0498, 0499, 050. Just imagine those lines there. Same for the run as well. So the super simple way is I put my marker, and as you can see, those yellow lines show me, okay, that's too easy. That is about 0494. Let me zoom out. Yeah, 0494 1178. Like, you just got to imagine the invisible lines. This is used more for fire missions, doing fire missions and stuff. Super simple. All right, next thing we'll go ahead and do is go ahead and do our CLS, which is stand for Combat Life Saving. We're doing a basic version of CLS. All right, with Spando, let's go. So as we can see here, he is now down. And what we're going to do, first thing, is you need to check the injuries. What is happening? Boom. Nothing's wrong with him. But I'm going to induce a bleed. As you can see, he now has moderate bleeding. The one thing that we have that can stop moderate bleeding is a tourniquet. Tourniquets are used to quickly stop bleeding. You can use a tourniquet to quickly. If you have time, you can use a bandage. You can use a bandage later if needed. I'm pretty sure we can also use a bandage now too. So we can bandage. Tourniquets, super quick. Bandages, they take a little bit longer. So it's really based on the situation, what you need to do. So boom. As you can see, I now have him bandaged. I have stopped the bleeding. The bleeding is the first thing you always want to stop. So as we can see, he's not bleeding, but he does have a class 1 hemorrhage. First thing you want to do is you want to check his pulse and make sure he has a pulse. He has a pulse of 130. That means his heart is beating. If he did not have a pulse, you're going to look at his upper chest and you'll perform CPR. The way we do it here is performing CPR for 30-second increments and continue doing that until their heart starts back up. There's 2 different things that we can use to help this. Once you get their heart started back up, there is our ammonium carbonate and our epinephrine. The best way to think of this is if they have a low heart rate, that's when you want to use that epinephrine. If you have they have their heart rate up above the 90s, 100s, 110, 120, whatever, then that's when you can use the ammonium carbonate. This is smelling salts, basically. You can use smelling salts to basically wake them up. Basically, if you're unconscious, smelling salts will wake them up. It's too easy. Next, we're going to move on to radio communication. Alright, so next thing we're going to talk about with radio communication is going to be the numbers. Super simple. There's 1 through 6. A 6 is always going to be your officer. If you hear somebody talking on the net and it's a 6, it is an officer in charge of something, whether they're a platoon leader, a company commander, a battalion commander, or a or the regiment commander, myself. Reaper 6, that is my call sign. We are the Reaper Regiment, so everyone that you hear Reaper is either Reaper Staff or Reaper Command. Next is going to be your 7. Your 7 is always going to be an NCO in charge of something, either a platoon sergeant, a first sergeant, a battalion command sergeant major, or a regiment command sergeant major. The next is 5. 5 is always going to be your executive officer. This is only at the company level and above. So a company executive officer, a battalion executive officer, and a regiment executive officer. And then next is 1 through 4. 1 through 4 at the company or at the squad level, the squad and platoon level. 1 through 4 is always going to be your squad leaders. If you hear, for instance, Outlaw is a platoon we have in 2nd Ranger Battalion. If you're Outlaw 1 is your Outlaw Platoon 1st Squad Leader. Outlaw 2 is your Outlaw Platoon 2nd Squad Leader, so on and so forth. What we're going to go ahead and try now is a simple radio communication, or a radio check. I'm going to use the person in front of me for this test. Reaper 1, this is Reaper 6, radio check.
Reaper 6, this is Reaper 1. I read you Lima Charlie, how me?
Roger, I have the same. Tango Mike. So, I established radio communication with him. He said, hey, I hear you. Do you hear me? I said, yes, I hear you. And then I continue on with my traffic. The only time that you use radio communications, radio checks, is basically 2 reasons. If you haven't talked to somebody in a while, or if you've moved a considerable amount of distance from the last time that you talked to somebody. Super simple. The next thing, first thing we're going to learn is the UH-60 Blackhawk. We're going to learn how to load into it and unload from the Blackhawk. So, simply, what's going to happen is Blackhawk's going to come in for landing. You will never approach a Blackhawk from the front or from the rear. You'll always approach it from the right or the left side. You'll crouch, and there's 2 simple ways. You can either approach it by contacting the pilot or crew chief on radio, saying, hello, do we have permission to board? Or do we have permission to approach? Yes or no. And then also, if they don't have a crew chief or you don't have them on the radio net, you can crouch, approach, talk to the pilot, co-pilot, crew chief from here. I have 8 packs, permission to board the bird. Roger, 8 packs, too easy. Boom, load them up. Then, whoever's the squad leader, the chalk leader, whatever, will then stand here, and they will basically count you in. As people load in, he'll count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, until everyone's loaded up. Boom, then he himself will get in. Boom, fly, take off, and then you guys will get to wherever you're going. These cones here represent where you do want to go and where you don't want to go. For this left side or for the other side, you never want to go in front of the gun on the helicopter. The crew chief's job is to maintain safety and accountability of the aircraft, make sure the aircraft isn't injured. If you stand in the way between them and what could harm the Blackhawk, they will mow you down if needed. So never walk in front of this gun. So that's why you have these cones here. Boom, simple line. You're not in front of it. They can still shoot and engage most targets. Then here, you never want to go beyond the exhaust. So boom, same for here. Whenever you dismount from a Blackhawk, you want to go 2-3 meters. Boom, hit the ground. Super simple on both sides. Next is the MH6 Little Bird. Super simple. Same as well. You never want to approach from the front or from the rear. You always want to crouch, approach. Same stuff as well. Permission to board the bird. 3 packs. This holds less people. It's faster, more nimble. Can put you down on the rooftop. Super simple. This is a V shape. If you're loading onto a Little Bird, you always want to load on or unload using the V shape. So you can go out this way if you need to. You can go out this way if you need to. But usually if you're just landing on the ground, super simple. Just 3 meters and then drop. Next is going to be your Chinook. Chinook, super simple. You never want to approach from the front, the left, or the right. You always want to approach a Chinook from the rear. So, same thing. Crew chief gives you permission, whatever. You can board the bird. Too easy. Same thing. Counting everybody in, making sure we have accountability. Boom, everyone's in the Chinook. Too easy. Take your seat. And then, the dismount is either, you can call it a half circle or a crescent moon. A half circle, a crescent moon is your dismount for whenever you're exiting out the rear of a Chinook. The Chinook's got 2 miniguns in the front, sometimes got guns in the rear, so they have security pulled up there. You guys will pull rear security. If you're the first people out the Chinook, will pull direct security from the direct rear. And as people unload, they'll start to fill in the circle as much as possible all the way up to basically here. It's too easy. If you come out of the Chinook and there's basically nowhere to lay down, then you can start crouching behind these people over here, pulling security over the people that are crouching. Super simple. Next is the introduction to Airborne. Super simple. You guys will be jumping from towers. What's going to happen is you guys may or may not get your parachutes at the towers. You might get them prior. Who knows? But yeah, the parachutes are super simple. Once you get your parachute, you will climb your tower. You will get to the top. There will be a cadre there to assist and help you. The only thing you need to know here is your jump count. Jump count is the only thing that is important that you know. For a static line jump is 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4. So no matter whether you're jumping out of a helicopter, whether you're jumping out of a plane once we eventually get them, if you're jumping off of a bridge we have floating in the sky, if you're doing a static line jump, your jump count is 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4. And then once you hear 4, or once you count to 4, that is when you automatically pull the chute. Your chute won't automatically deploy for you. You will have to pull your chute. On Xbox, on PC, instructions will be given to how you properly pull your chute. And like I said, you will come to the ground. The plan is basically you'll be in the parachute for 10, 15, 20 seconds max, and then you'll be on the ground. You will exit from your parachute. You'll pack your parachute back in, and then drop it and carry on with your mission.
Just bring it on back.